Welcome to another Q&A with the Mayor. I'm Matt Sommer, and I'm joined here with Mayor Don Triplett.
Hello.
And today we're going to go over some waste streams and some animal enforcement. Specifically talking about the waste streams, there's a new public dumpster going into effect. Don, could you touch a little bit on that?
Yeah, the public access dumpster, we're getting ready to go live with that the week of October 28th. So not the week of this broadcast, but the next week. We've set up a new location back behind the public library and kind of cleaned the ground up and getting it ready to go. So that is going to be, well, it's really going to have three purposes. One is for an actual roll-off dumpster where people can put large items and large volumes of trash that exceed what their residential polycarts currently can handle. Just a dumpster for overflow trash, basically. If somebody's got a sofa or large items like that, they could take up there. Different times a year, you'll accumulate more than what your polycart can handle. That's the spot for it. It's also going to be a place to drop off large appliances and metal for recycling. There'll be an area back there that if you have something like that, set it off to the side. We've made arrangements with some local scrap dealers, scrap recyclers to pick that up. And then also we intend on moving the trailer for cardboard paper and stuff like that. It's currently on the grassy lot just off the square. It's going to get relocated back there as well, so everything's kind of one-stop shopping.
Okay, cool. Is there any restrictions on who can use this area?
There are. This is something that's basically paid for by folks that get residential trash service through the city, the WCA, the blue poly carts, and this is primarily for them. So city residents and businesses who pay for residential trash service, it's for them. It's not for local businesses that have dumpsters of their own. It's not for them. We've set up mechanisms though, because sometimes people have needs and we're trying to take care of the community. There'll be occasions when people maybe who don't have that service that they get each week, they can come down to City Hall and get a temporary permit and pay a small little token fee just to help cover the cost of the dumpster, and we can get them access to it. And then, of course, city organizations and departments in their official capacities. Things like the youth sports is a good example. They have public events. It's for them too. I mean, they don't have residential service, but they need that service as bad as anybody does when they're doing stuff for our community. So.
Okay. And while we're on that, is there any restriction on time that can be used?
Yes. There's posted hours. This location has a privacy fence on one side, and there's another building on the other side of it to help create a defined space for this all to occur. As far as the hours, we're going to be enforcing open and closed hours. So, I believe the hours are 6 a.m. until 10 p.m., and that is 7 days a week.
Okay, and how are you enforcing that?
Vigorously. The reason, we had this dumpster program before, probably 8-9 months ago. We had to do away with it because of some folks, mostly out-of-towners, were taking terrible advantage of this thing. And anytime they saw a free dumpster sitting out there, we've had problems with folks from out of town bringing out-of-town stuff to come and dump it there. They don't pay for that service. It's for our local residents. It was so bad that, these dumpsters are pretty expensive. We would have problems with an empty dumpster would get dropped in on Thursday, and by Saturday it would be full. And, it was actually depriving our residents of the access to it because other people were really trying to take advantage of it. So we've installed some security systems back there. We're at the new site. We've got signage. We're communicating as well as we can what the open and close hours are. If folks dump stuff outside of those hours, if they come in at midnight to dump something, they're more than likely going to get caught, and they're more than likely going to get a ticket for it. For being there after hours is kind of the equivalent of trespass. So unauthorized users will be ticketed regardless of when they're there. And again, we have, with our new security systems in place now, we'll be able to see that going on in real time. So we have multiple cameras back there that are able to really dial in on everything. And it notifies our police department as it's occurring. So we owe it to our residents to be vigorous, as I said before, in enforcement of this. So it's for them, it's for their use. If a non-city resident wants to use it, there's a mechanism to get them permission to use it. And anybody that's not authorized to use it, we're going to try to go after. So.
Okay. And again, just going back to the actual dumpster itself, is there stuff that can't go into it?
Sure. There are things that you cannot be put in it. Paint is one, and chemicals is, paint and chemicals. Tires, unless they're split and quartered. So if you have some tires and you want to throw them away, because it's hard to get rid of tires. But if you split them in half and then you split them into quarters so that water they can't hold water, then it's perfectly legal to put those in there. Concrete bricks and stones, that just adds weight to it, and we have other locations that people can put that. And yard waste. Again, we have another location, we have another waste stream that's available to the public for those kinds of things. So if you waste the dumpster by filling it up with large heavy blocks, bricks, yard debris, again, you're just saying it's just filling it up that much quicker, and it's denying our other residents the opportunity to use it.
Okay. Stepping back from the dumpster itself and back into the waste streams, are there
Sure.
other waste streams available to citizens?
Yeah, there are. We've tried to set it up to where, as much as possible, our residents don't have to leave town to go dump stuff off, or everybody gets things in their house that generate some kind of a waste, and we've tried to help with all of that. We have outlets now for concrete, rocks, and stones, blocks like that, and it's very simple, and all they got to do is call City Hall, and we can help them with that. Yard waste, of course, we have a site for that too. Again, just get in touch with City Hall. It's a locked facility, but we can get them access to a key real easy, and they can do it. Prescription medications, expired or no longer being used. A lot of areas have problems with people throwing that kind of stuff, like flushing it down a toilet or just throwing it in the trash. We have a setup here right at City Hall where they can dump it into a controlled bin, and we process it like evidence. We actually, very safe, very secured, and it gets incinerated. Is that what it actually happens with it? We are trying to set up something for needles, to where, like diabetes needles and stuff, we just don't need those things going into the sewer or into the trash. If you can collect them, we are setting up a waste stream to be able to handle those as well too. And then we do an annual e-waste program where once a year, if you got old computers or TVs, it's kind of a recycle program where people can come turn them in, and they get all the metals and stuff out of it, and they reuse it. So, and of course, we've got this. We've partnered with Innovative Industries for this dumpster for the recycled paper and cardboard and things like that too. So.
Okay, so it sounds like a lot of it's covered.
We try. We felt like it was important whenever when we contracted with WCA for our waste services. Every resident gets a 95-gallon poly cart that they put their trash in, and that works for most people. Sometimes it gets filled up, and this is a great way to get rid of other things that are just going to. If it goes into the WCA poly cart, it's going to go into a landfill. and some things like metals and stuff. There's a readily available waste stream for that. Just as well use it. It helps the environment, and it just helps everything. And in a way, it actually helps our costs for trash service, because again, when landfills fill up, once they're full, then they have to build new ones. So environmentally, it's the right thing to do too. So.
Okay. And you mentioned WCA. Is there any renewal or something that we're looking at?
Yes, we are coming up on the end of our 5-year contract with WCA, and we feel like they have done a wonderful job with our residents on trash pickup. We've really kind of created a pretty good partnership with them, and right now the council's intent, and mine too, I'm recommending this, that instead of going out trying to rebid and through all that complication, we're kind of planning on just renewing the contract with them, going into another 5-year contract. By working with this vendor, we're expecting to be able to hold prices and get, for the monthly service, and also help with these roll-off dumpsters that we're using. So.
Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about on waste streams?
I think the big thing is that, if your 95-gallon tote doesn't cover your needs, that it's very easy to get a second cart. A second poly cart is just $6 a month. It's very inexpensive, and it's very readily available. I highly recommend that if people are always close. I personally have a second cart. I don't use it every week, but it's nice to have it when I need it. The other thing too is I can't stress enough that with this location behind the library, it's very easy to get to from 6th Street. Please read the signs, pay attention to what's going on. Please pay attention to the hours. A typical resident here in Sarcoxie has nothing to worry about. Just go during the day. Any weekday is fine. We do not want people back there after 10 o'clock at night and before 6 o'clock in the morning. Reason being is it's kind of a residential area too, and we are really trying to be diligent in controlling the waste streams back there. I feel like we got burnt very badly with unauthorized users, and that means that the city residents got burnt badly with it, and we're going to be aggressive in trying to keep that from happening again. We want this service to be here for them from now on. So.
All right. So let's transition to animal enforcement, the
Okay.
second topic, and go over a little bit of things. So when we posted out on Facebook this week about this podcast coming up, we asked for some questions, and
Sure.
I know we got one specifically from Kelsey, and she was asking, what are the enforcements on the barking dogs? Could you go over that real quick?
Sure, not a problem. I'm glad we're talking about all this. The city council spent a year working on completely rewriting their animal ordinances back in 2014. Had public meetings, sought lots of public input. There was a little controversy with it, but what we tried to do was tailor something that is useful to us. When it comes to barking dogs, one of the things that we said was that people have the right to enjoy the comforts of their home, the privacy of their home. If somebody lives in a house, they have a right to be able to go out into their backyard and enjoy their personal space without being harassed with a neighbor's dog barking at them constantly. So people have the right to enjoy a good night's sleep without dogs keeping them up all night barking. So we have put in a mechanism in our city code, and we're really putting a focus back on that now with our police department too. The way the law works, if a citizen has a problem with a barking dog, they just have to call the police department. They can call 911 or they can call our non-emergency number, 548-3500, voice the concern, and then a police officer will make contact with them, and then they'll go talk to the neighbor and just let them know about the complaint. Well, if the officer makes contact with the dog owner and another complaint comes into them within 72 hours, that can actually trigger a ticket for a barking dog. And we are going to get more aggressive about enforcing that law. So
okay,
we are now currently being more aggressive about it. It's not going to happen. That's what we're doing right now.
Right. So it's mostly warning, and then we move
Yes.
on to the thing depending on
Yeah.
the context.
I mean, it's a dog's a dog, and dogs bark, and we don't expect people to complain if a dog is outside for a little bit in an enclosure or on a dog chain or something. If the dog's barking to want to come in, if you bring the dog in, and it's not barking a lot, there's really no complaint there. That's a dog just communicating, I'm ready to come back in. But a dog that's just left outside just to bark and bark and bark, and the owner of that animal doesn't do anything about it, doesn't try to stop it or anything, that's being pretty inconsiderate to their neighbors, and that's what we're looking for. I mean, we want to try to intervene and make that person do something with his dog, and if they don't, then we can take more assertive steps. We hope to not have to do that, but it's there for us to do.
Okay. So another animal enforcement technique or problem that you see is maybe animals at large. Could you go over some of that?
Yeah. When it comes to animals, again, all of our animal codes are in Chapter 73 of our city code. You can see that on our website at sarcoxiemo.com under the government tab, and then our city ordinances. This is Chapter 73. That's where we have all of our animal ordinances. But the three things that we seem to get asked about most often, or that are most often an issue, barking is number one, far and away. Number two is dogs at large. And then the third one's banned breeds. But getting back to the dogs at large, one of the things that we did back in 2014 is we did away with the requirement that dogs be on leashes all the time. What we established was we wanted what I call an affirmative control. If you can control your dog without a leash, just sitting on the front porch, and your dog obeys you, then you have you have positive control of the animal. Now, if you're in that situation and somebody goes walking down the street and the dog runs after them, and the dog will not heed your commands, then you don't have control of your animal, and that's an issue. One of the problems we see is, one of the complaints we hear is that folks a lot of times will, the dog is typically an indoor dog, and they'll open the door and let the dog out to go to the bathroom or do whatever, but they won't supervise the dog. So they'll just open the door, let the animal out, and then they'll go back to doing what they were doing on the inside, and then an hour or two later they might open the door and holler for the dog to come back in. Well, that is not maintaining control of your animal. And if it's going over to your neighbor's yard and maybe digging up the flower bed or doing other things, then that qualifies as a dog at large, and it's going to be an issue. Again, all of this is about respecting residents and the right to enjoy their property. And if somebody else's dog is going over to their yard and using it as a bathroom or causing damage, you're not taking care of your animal, and that's what we're there to help prevent. So that's what we're doing with that.
Okay. On the side where a dog goes missing or becomes an animal at large, which the owner has lost control, but they don't know where it is.
Right.
Where do they go for that?
Well, immediately, they can look at our police Facebook page. They can call the non-emergency number and ask our police department, because we're patrolling the neighborhoods. If your dog has gotten away and is lost, the odds are really good that we're going to find it, or that somebody's going to turn it in or call in, hey, there's a strange dog in my neighborhood. That helps. So, and to touch on the dog at large, accidents happen. There's going to be occasions where people, maybe the dog slipped its chain, or maybe one of your young children left a gate open and the dog got out. We're not wanting to crack down on that, because that happens. That's just an accident. What we're looking for are chronic offenders, people that just do it with no apparent regard to what their neighbors, about their neighbors. Accidents happen, things happen. We try to allow for that. What we're looking for, again, is the chronic offenders, people that just don't seem to care about their neighbors.
Okay. All right, and then you mentioned a few minutes ago about banned breeds.
Yes. Yeah, we in 2014 again. That was part of why it took a year to do this. The council thought long and hard, and they looked at their own history of dogs, and what they found was
All right, Don. And you mentioned a minute ago about banned breeds.
yes, yes. When we did the complete rewrite of this ordinance back in 2014, a lot of time was spent looking at the history of dog attacks in Sarcoxie, dangerous dogs, and one thing that really came up to the top was the fact that there was kind of a common denominator with certain dog attacks and things, and that being pit bulls. Now, the council went on to also ban Rottweilers as well, but the heart of the issue was pit bulls. Some of the very worst dog attacks we've had in the city have been by pit bulls, and I've been involved in some of those in law enforcement, and it's terrible. A lot of times too, and this is common at the national level, pit bulls, the one of the most frequent victims is a child within the household of the dog. So a lot of times a family will have a pit bull, and a kid will, a child, a son, a daughter, whatever, will play with the dog, and something happens and the dog will bite it. And those can be some pretty bad injuries, because a lot of times they're towards the face or towards the neck, and can be really bad. So we have affected a banned breed, a banning law. It's a little controversial, but it is across the country. But we're sticking with it. We did a grandfather clause. All of the pit bulls that were in the city at the time of this law were allowed to stay, but we said no more new ones. So, and I've instructed the police to be more aggressive in enforcement of that. Anybody that moves into our city to get a water and sewer hookup, it's right there on the application that no pit bulls, and no rods. People know. I assume, any new Rottweiler brought into the city, the people were forewarned about it, and they're doing it anyway despite the law. And so we're saying zero tolerance for it.
Okay.
So
now, to those out there who say it's how they're raised.
Yes, probably. The thing is that pit bulls, for example, were raised and bred historically to be a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more, attack prone. Some of the nicest dogs I've met have been pit bulls, to be honest with you. But unfortunately, they can be raised in a way that make them more aggressive, or that doesn't control potential aggressive behavior. We cannot enforce that if you have a pit bull, you got to go through this kind of class or this kind of training. We can't do that. And so what we've had to do is, maybe use a bigger tool than what we should have had to have done, but it was all we had available. So some folks get upset about that, and some of those folks haven't had to deal with the dog bites, the severity of a pit bull attack like what we've had to see here. So, and we've had one or two in the last 12 months. These were dogs that were illegally brought into the city, hidden from us, and these dogs turned around. One of them was a kid that had attacked. It was a family member that had attacked. That's what we're trying to stop.
Okay. Are there any fines or consequences if they're found?
Yeah, you'll get a ticket. You'll have to appear in court, and there's a fine that can go all the way up to $500. Plus, we always seek a court order to have the dog removed from the city, taken away from the owner, and gotten rid of. So, and we are going to be aggressive about that. So,
okay. Besides pit bulls and Rottweilers, is there anything else about dangerous dogs that we're trying to go after?
Yeah, and that's a focus too. That's probably the fourth biggest concern that are expressed to citizens, by citizens. We, again, it goes back to the right to live here in peace and enjoy your community, your home, and everything else. Aggressive dogs, we are going to have to go after. We added in our law here too what I call the but-for clause. All right, and what it is a scenario like if somebody's walking down 12th Street and there's a certain house that every time they walk by, there's a dog that just goes crazy and acts like, if not for the chain that it's being held on, or if not for this fence that's keeping it back, this dog would attack somebody. So, but for the fence is what we look at. Any dog that exhibits aggressive behavior without a good reason, we can identify as a dangerous dog, a label as such, and we can take it to court. And again, we would love it if we had no more dog bites in our city. And that's kind of what we're going for. And people have the right to walk down the street or enjoy their neighborhood without being worried about being bit by a dog. So that's what we're after.
Okay. And if any of those get out and loose, what's the consequence there? Like, are they picked up by the pound? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, picked up, held in our facility, and again, the tickets are issued, and just depending on what's going on, we'll hold that dog. I mean, we'll hold it in our pound until court, until the judge says one way or the other. So.
Okay. Those being the most heard for complaints or issues, concerns with the citizens, is there anything else you can think of that animal enforcement would be a good thing to talk about?
I just think so much of this is about being a courteous neighbor and thinking about your neighbors. People deserve, again, I can't say it enough, they deserve the right to get to enjoy their property in their neighborhood, in their city, without being afraid of a dog or a dog coming over and causing damage. They just have a right on that, and that's just a common decency thing that we look after. So that's pretty much it.
All right, cool. I know we do this after every podcast, but how's the best way to get in touch with you if they have any other questions or concerns?
They can leave a message on Facebook. They can call City Hall and request a call back. They can email me at mayor@sarcoxiemo.com. And I tell people I still drive the ugly brown Jeep, and I'm here on most Saturdays. So always available, and I'm always happy to talk to folks if they have a question or a concern.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening. Thank you for those who sent in the questions. We look forward to doing more of these, and hopefully we'll have a lot more questions next time and some more content, and we'll get that out on Facebook a lot earlier.
All right. Thank you.